This is the Daily Stock Show. I'm Salim. On today's show, I have a very special guest for you. The CEO of a lithium mining company that has accumulated one of the largest land packages in Quebec. I'm very excited to have the CEO of Eureka, Mr. Jeff Wilson. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Salim. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today.
There are a lot of investors, Jeff, looking forward to hear from you as a leader of the industry. Let me let's share a little bit about yourself and what you have been doing for the last 10, 15 years in the industry and related work you have done so far.
Yeah, so my background, I've been in the basically the mineral exploration business for the better part of 25 years. Much of my focus has been on the capital markets side of the business, raising capital, raising money, generating awareness, relationships with key investors, and then aligning with good, smart geological minds that have the ability to find these critical or important elements and minerals that we need. And earlier in my career, it was things like copper and gold and silver. Today, as you point out, we're seeing a paradigm shift in exploration for minerals that are critical for the clean energy movement. Things like lithium and cobalt and these types of elements. So my background has largely been working with good geological teams to find the right projects or properties that have the potential to delineate significant new discoveries. And discoveries are what the major mining companies of the world are looking for. Obviously, they're mining and they're producing, but there's always a view downstream towards or upstream towards where's the next supply going to come from. And as some of these metals become more critical, and supply-demand economics tighten, there's an increased desire to identify these. So I've been lucky enough to work with some good groups. We've identified some projects in the past that have either been bought out or taken over by mid-tier or major mining companies. I've structured deals with some of the biggest mining companies in the world, where they've come in and identified the importance of our projects and wanted to get involved, and that's been net beneficial to our shareholders and investors. So at the end of the day, my background is looking for opportunities to have significant discoveries to feed the supply demand that the major companies are looking for to continue their mining operation.
Can you share a little bit about how you assembled the humongous tract of land, this package of land in Quebec? Quebec is very famous for lithium. Quebec has become the first province in Canada to be a producer of lithium in the history of Canada. And this is the safest jurisdiction in the world. And Quebec, the mining community and the mining investors know, is famous for having the low-cost energy. Tell us why it is critical that we have abundance of energy, electricity, cheap electricity, and a jurisdiction like Quebec and the tax benefits and initiatives taken by the province to encourage investment in this critical metal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful part of the world to be working. Certainly within Canada, you're dealing with first world jurisdiction. This is an area. I mean, quite frankly, both Canada and the United States are seeing federal governments as well as state and provincial governments implementing incentives for companies like ourselves that are exploring for these critical metals. I mean, clearly, we're in a world where trade relations are strained. And so supply of these types of critical metals that I think we all understand are going to drive the clean future, securing those within our own borders or certainly within the borders of countries that we have sound trade relations with is becoming more and more important, and rather than being reliant upon some of these other countries for these critical metals. Quebec offers a number of benefits. You mentioned that the tax incentive, there is a payback, if you will, or a reimbursement of expenditures. So exploration dollars put into the ground and come back to mining companies or exploration companies as they continue to explore, because the government wants these minerals to be found within Quebec because of the job creation and the benefits that come to the province. You're looking at an area also that has a known mining history. I mean, this is a province where mining has happened for many, many years. Local communities understand the benefits of it. There's infrastructure in place, whether it's rail or it's deep sea ports. These types of things are critical as well in terms of eventual mining and the costs associated with extraction. And you know what we identified specifically to Eureka with northern Quebec was partnering with a renowned prospector in the gold space, a gentleman by the name of Sean Ryan. Now, Sean had been very instrumental in a number of big discoveries in other parts of the world and other parts of Canada, specifically in the Yukon, part of a big gold rush that occurred there. And again, in Newfoundland, where there's been a significant amount of exploration and activity over the last 5 years or so with great success. And Sean was sort of at the forefront of both of those, call them, you know, area plays or rushes to stake. And Sean had focused his techniques towards, you know, where might there be lithium opportunities in the world that haven't been identified yet, or where can we find the right geological environment where significant amounts of lithium may exist. And through a global search, Sean identified northern Quebec as a region that he thought was highly prospective, the right geology, the right geophysical signatures, structural controls. I won't get too technical, but you know, the right environment for lithium to be hosted. But on top of that, identified that there was a known, historic, and publicly available database from the Quebec provincial government, where the government many years ago had done a province-wide survey and identified significant clusters, if you will, of enriched lithium readings in lake bottom sediment sampling. This was not a intermittent sort of sampling program where they took some samples here, they took some there. They took, you know, tens of thousands of samples across the entire province. And in looking at that database, Sean identified pockets within northern Quebec where there were these very obvious clusters of some of the highest lithium readings in the province. And when I say some of the highest, I mean in the 99.5 percentile of the entire province of Quebec. And so that immediately focused Sean into some of these areas where ground was not only you know, prospective for lithium, but was also available for staking. And so Sean was able to go in and pick up these large land packages you know, laid over top of these best readings of lithium in areas where nobody had really gone looking for lithium before. There's nickel exploration and nickel mining in the area where we're working. There's a couple of other companies, as you know, that are you know, quite high profile that are working in the area, but there really hadn't been any concerted effort to explore within this northern region of Quebec specifically for lithium. And so, you know, as a first mover, you know, I aligned with Sean to attain these assets that he had staked, roll them into Eureka Lithium, and make that a focus of this new lithium-focused company. And that's sort of how we established the company's land position in northern Quebec over the course of the last 12 months or so.
I am so happy to hear about Sean Ryan. He is the legend in the industry. The people in the mining industry know him. He is a big man in the industry from gold mining and now looking for lithium. How you partnered with him is a historic for the historic mining industry. This is going to be maybe one of the best thing Sean and you can do to transfer the whole lithium project to the Quebec. That part of the Quebec you said never been explored before. And tell me a little more about the biggest companies, most people don't associate those investors in the high tech business are getting involved. What is that company, and why they are getting involved in this thing? You think?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I'm glad you give me the opportunity to talk about that. So I mean, obviously people who are maybe not familiar with the mining sector or the mining space as investors, maybe don't quite understand the significance of this. But as you touched on at the beginning here, the rush for critical metals, the importance of clean energy and the metals and minerals that will fuel that is, it's a global concern, and we're seeing some of the most high profile investors that we know in the world now starting to focus their efforts also and their finances into this space. And so in northern Quebec, not far from where most of our land package is situated, is a company called Kobold Metals. And Kobold is a private company. They've raised hundreds of millions of dollars privately in the last couple of years, I think up to about $400 million.
Say it again. How much did you say they raised?
Yes, they've raised a total, I think, of about $400 million.
And they are your neighbors.
And they are our neighbors in northern Quebec, where they are actively exploring predominantly for nickel, but looking for the critical metals that will fuel this clean energy future. And Kobold Metals is backed by some of the biggest names in the world. Jeff
Can
Bezos.
you name a few
Yes.
names of
Yes.
investors to understand?
Yes. So, this has been backed by Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Richard Branson. These kinds of names have been significant backers of this private company called Kobold Metals, looking in northern Quebec, among other places, of course, but a significant amount of their efforts in northern Quebec, really a stone's throw away from where we are exploring. And so the importance of that is twofold. One, obviously that brings notable names to the area, and it obviously brings much more eyeballs to almost validating what we are doing in that region. But secondly, I think what it gives is the opportunity for there to be a significant amount of exploration success that can come from this area. If you've got one company exploring one project, the amount of news flow and perhaps success, takes time. If you've got a number of companies, and specifically companies that have deep pockets and access to a significant amount of capital, that they're going to be actively exploring, aggressively exploring, and any good news that comes out of the Kobold camp or our own is obviously going to generate much more attention to the region. So we're very keen to have guys like that operating in the area. And the other thing that it maybe brings about is if we do have some level of exploration success or discovery success, you want to know that guys with very, very deep pockets might be attracted, and who knows, maybe take some interest either as investors in our deal or maybe want to align in some way. But it's very, very good to have a neighbor like that in next door, and we're keen to see what kind of work they do over the coming weeks, months, and years.
That is so true. As they call it, that is smart money, they say on the street. Is that not?
That's right.
It's smart money. Now, my understanding of where their location and the property you own, the Eureka owns, is amazingly much, much, much larger than that company.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah, we've got a significantly larger land package because we've got three different distinct, I guess you could call them project areas or land holdings within Quebec, predominantly northern Quebec. So, yeah, we've been fortunate to be able to get in and stake some highly prospective ground ahead of some of the competition. So yes, we've got a significant land package. And again, if you're talking early stage exploration, it's an odds game. It's a system. You've got to be systematic about it. There are going to be misses sometimes before there are hits, but that's where it becomes so critical to have a significantly large land package. You basically give yourself more lottery tickets, and the more opportunity you have to hit, the more likely you are going to succeed. If you've got a narrow sphere in terms of your land package, you can run out of real estate pretty quickly, and then you're scratching your head wondering where you go next. When you start with a big land package, you give yourself better opportunity to succeed. And hopefully with the work that we're doing now, we're able to vector or define and refine the most prospective parts of our project and focus in on those with more detail.
That is fantastic. Now, as you are doing the exploration, can you share with the investors what you have done in last couple quarters, and what are investors to expect in the next couple quarters, especially as we wrap up this year on a great success you achieved so far, and what they should be looking for. And for that purpose, I have no idea how much money you have raised and why the investors should get involved at this initial stages. What is the benefit for them to partner with you?
Yeah, and I mean, it has been a pretty aggressive trajectory here for us, really since acquiring these assets. So you're really only talking, sort of the spring of this year. I mean, 2023 has been a very transformative year for Eureka. We secured the deal to acquire 100% interest in the projects. What I will point out as a bit of a sidebar is that Sean Ryan, the prospector who identified this ground, when we transacted with him, rather than giving him, a bunch of money and having him disappear into the sunset, he took an equity stake in Eureka. So he is a significant shareholder of Eureka, and so he's aligned with us. He's aligned with our shareholders, where the real upside for Sean is in owning shares of the company, and so he's a big shareholder in that regard. So we completed the transaction to acquire 100% of the projects. Coinciding with that, we raised a total of about $6.7 million Canadian in an equity financing tied in with the closing. Some of that was what we here in Canada call flow-through money, which is specifically for exploration. Other was sort of hard dollars that we can use with discretion. So a significant treasury coming out of the gate on the back of closing the transaction to acquire. We saw, a pretty nice share price appreciation on the back of closing that financing and acquiring the assets. We then engaged one of the best field exploration groups in the business, a company called Ground Truth Exploration. They've worked very closely with Sean Ryan in the past, and so if you're going to have the sort of the rock whisperer sort of going out and identifying these projects, you want to make sure that the guys that are in the field understand the thesis and are exploring these projects in the right way. So having this synergy between Sean and the ground crew has been critical. We had a significant team in the field through most of the summer, collecting samples, doing surveys, trying to go into these areas where the Quebec government had found the best lithium readings and seeing if we could do more detailed work in those areas. So basically going to the hot spots and trying to flesh them out and find out whether or not there's some real opportunity for lithium discovery there. So much of that work has gone on through the summer. We haven't had much opportunity to report or disclose much of the results of that, but that's coming. We should have some assay numbers coming back from our field work. We should have some target delineation reports coming out where we can say, look, here are the areas where we saw some of the best readings that we think are the most prospective and that we want to do more work. And the objective of all of this is to try to bring one or more of these target areas within our property package to a drill stage. At the end of the day, drilling is the ultimate truth serum. And if we find something that is worth drilling, we've been securing a lot of the logistical access to be able to do that this year. So, we've been very aggressive bringing these projects into the company, raising the necessary finances to be able to explore them aggressively. We're now at a point of hopefully getting to a point where we can start to report the delineation of some meaningful targets and then go out and start to test those targets with the drill bit. Again, these are large land packages. I think that investors have to be prepared that this is not likely going to be a one and done type process where we find a target, we drill it, it's either there or it's not. I think this is going to be an extended program of work that should run over several months, maybe even years, where there's just a lot of ground here to test. And it's a process of elimination, but we're hoping to get started with some significant drill testing this year, and the results of that, of course, will dictate where we go next. But we're not going to run out of targets anytime soon. There's a lot of ground, a lot of prospective areas, and really, like I say, it's a systematic approach to being able to test these as we advance, and ultimately being sort of driven going forward by the results that come out.
You could not have asked for a better partner than Sean Ryan. He's the legend. He's a partner in your business. So this could be Sean Ryan's crown jewel. He has done many things over the years, but I believe this could be the biggest thing he ever done. And I don't think he partnered like he partnered with you, and equity stake and everything. He is betting on this thing big. So now the investors who are interested in where they can buy your stock, can they buy an American stock exchange also?
Yes, they can. We trade both on the CSE in Canada and also on the OTCQB. If investors search Eureka Lithium on any platform, they will have the ability to trade and transact the stock on those two platforms, OTCQB and the CSE in Canada.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to talk to Sean Ryan about his history and his involvement with this big project, and I cannot wait to hear more from you when the drilling gets started, the assay results come. So would you come back to share with my investors who follow my company, my firm, and also the members? We have 187,000 members. We have they follow my firm the last 15-16 years, and they will be eager to hear more about the progress you will be making on the ground. So I can't wait to welcome back to you and Sean Ryan in the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic. No, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you here. I appreciate your interest in Eureka and what we're doing. Would be more than happy to come back with a follow-up conversation, perhaps on the back of some initial results, and we can certainly continue to discuss the plans going forward here. So if people want any more information on the company, EurekaLithiumCorp.com is the website, EurekaLithiumCorp.com. There they'll find information related to management, related to the projects, related to our ticker symbols if they want to identify how to transact. And as I say, Salim, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and look forward to speaking again.